North London is falling, Manchester is rising, and the Champions League is the gift that keeps on giving. We'll cover all of this and more on the supporters section today. Grab your scarves. We start right now. Welcome into the supporters section. I am Brandon Pacek, and this is episode 67 of the supporters section podcast. Go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you have not already, because we are well on our way to 100 subscribers. Thank you so much for everyone getting in there and subscribing. We had a couple comments on the last episode too, which we really enjoy, so thank you for doing that. And I think we had over 10 likes, which was awesome, so keep that coming. We love to see it. 100 subs by summer is our goal, but it looks like we might get there beforehand, so keep running it up. Thank you for helping us out. I have my good friend here with me, Steven Curl. Steven, I have to ask you a question about the thought of Pochettino coming back to the Premier League, coming back to London, but swapping the lily white of Spurs for the blue of Chelsea. What are your feelings about the rumors that have begun to swirl today?
Okay. If Pochettino goes to Chelsea, there'll definitely be, I would say, the majority of the Spurs fan base kind of up in arms about it. Probably half at Levy, and half at Pochettino. I don't buy it though. I don't think he would do that. Also don't know who would want to touch Chelsea right now, knowing that short leash, but that is crazy. It could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I don't know if I'm buying what they're selling.
You know, I mean, Fabrizio is tweeting about it, and, you know, he doesn't confirm anything unless it's basically confirmed, unless you see that here we go. But he's been in talks with Chelsea, definitely. That's confirmed.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense, to be honest. A young squad, very talented squad, has spending power, has already a ton of money in the team, and can handle the pressure, I think. So it makes sense as far as a Tottenham perspective, going from, you know, the history with Spurs to Chelsea, switching sides in London. That's tough to take, I'm sure, but I think it makes sense.
It would be,
I think it makes sense.
I'll put it this way. It would be the ultimate gut punch as a Spurs fan to round out this year, is missing European football, which is maybe not in total, probably will end up in Europa, hopefully, but missing out potentially even on Europa League, and having Pochettino go to Chelsea to watch them win a trophy with our old coach. That would suck. I would hate that.
Yeah, that might just be happening, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But like we like to start our podcast off, we give out a golden scarf to the person, team, thing, or whatever we thought deserved some praise from the previous week. I'll start for this week's, and again, I'm going to be a homer. I'm giving it to Aston Villa for breaking a Premier League record, scoring in a manager's first 19 games. This was in the 1-1 thrilling draw away at Brentford. Both teams actually could have won it. I think Villa probably didn't deserve to win it, but could have in the end. Really fun game. But yeah, we've scored in Unai Emery's 19 games. All of them we've scored. And hopefully we keep pushing that on this week and going into the weekend. Steven, who are you giving your golden scarf to?
I'm giving mine to a team that will still probably get relegated, but they're above the line as we speak, and that's Leicester City. Leicester City got their first win in, I think, like 6 or 7 Premier League matches this past weekend. So good on the Foxes. They took down, was it Crystal Palace? No, it was Wolves. Took down Wolves 2-1. So good for them. I don't want to see them get relegated. Like, I really don't. I just feel really bad for them. And you got Dean Smith there. I feel like we're rooting for them to stay up. So good on them for getting the result, and they're above the line. So good for them.
Yeah, it might be coming down to that Leicester City-Everton matchup. I think that's later this week, I want to say, maybe at the weekend. But it's coming up, and it's going to come down to those two. Leeds is probably in the mix as well. We'll get into all that later. But today we are going to start our Premier League review with North London rivals. No, they did not play, but it seems like they're falling from the sky. Before we get into this discussion, who do you think had the worst weekend, Tottenham or Arsenal?
not coming from a biased perspective, I still think not Arsenal, Tottenham. Tottenham by far had the worst weekend, I think. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Mr. Third Party?
Um, I'd probably have to say Tottenham as well because I think there's a lot for Arsenal still hanging on by a thread, whatever it is. Tottenham's just sort of gone at this point. I don't know if there's much to hang anything on at Spurs. We're going to get more of your thoughts in a minute, but let's start with Arsenal. Arsenal draw again for the third straight game in a row. You don't really need to be doing that when you're at the top and you have Man City biting at your heels. This draw was probably the worst out of the three because it came to the bottom place team, Southampton. It was a 3-3 thriller. Arsenal brought it close at the very, very end. But the game started off with an awful Aaron Ramsdale giveaway. Really not like him, especially this season. He's been phenomenal. Another goal came in the 13th minute from Theo Walcott. Martinelli got one back in the 20th minute. He's been on fire. He's so good recently. I think it was a Saka assist as well. And the game went into half 2-1. At this point, we're all thinking Arsenal probably has this. They can turn it around. But Southampton scored first in the second half in the 66th minute. And like I said, Arsenal did come back and salvage their season with 2 goals in 2 minutes in the 88th and 90th minute to draw the game. They came close to scoring a winner. One hit the crossbar. But yeah, it ends 3-3. Steve, you weren't on the podcast last week, but Cole and I were talking about coming from the Liverpool draw. That's 1 point gained. I think Cole and I decided the West Ham draw was sort of like, that's not great. You know, you were winning 2-0. You let them come back into the game. This game, like I just outlined, was completely different. They were down from the jump. The literal first minute of the game, they were down. And they were at home. They were at home, dude. So what do you feel coming from last week after that draw with West Ham? How did you feel after that game? And then going into this week, like, did anything make you feel differently about this Arsenal team? Because I think we both said we still think they will win it, the Premier League title. That is, like, where are you feeling now after 3 draws?
Yeah, I was a bit shaky even after that Liverpool draw. I remember, and I said they had an index finger on the trophy, and if you made me make a decision, that they would win. And I'm st- I'm still think I'm gonna go with that. But I feel less confident. Obviously, that's the right answer. Is less confident, but I will say this: to be able to respond and score goals while you're down, that's got to be the only silver lining. They're not losing these games. Losing 3-1 to Southampton with 20 minutes left to go in the match and finding that to come back and draw. I mean, I'm sure that's not what Arsenal fans might be thinking, maybe, but
Yeah.
I mean, coming from, not to make everything about Spurs, coming from a team that's showing none of that, Spurs don't have a trophy in their mind at all right now. They don't care. It's just abysmal to watch. But Arsenal, them scoring their goals, it's like, oh yeah, they just turned it on. Arteta can get, like, I have faith in Arteta. I have faith in this Arsenal team. I think we touched on it. They don't have really any big, huge egos. They play very well collectively, and they're in a bad spell. But guess what? They're in a bad spell of drawing 3 games, 3 points, and they're still in first. So I mean, the facts are still on the wall. Um, but it's all going to come down to this Manchester City game, isn't it? So who knows if this past draw is I think we keep saying it, blessing in disguise with draw after draw after draw. But this is the title right here. This is it. Maybe if there's a draw, it gets a little spicy, but it's Arsenal. You win this game, it's more or less. There's still a lot of Prem left. Who knows? But this is obviously the most
There is.
important game left. So I do have faith, though, to answer your question shortly and bluntly, is I do think it's scarier, obviously, more detrimental towards the team after an additional 2 more draws. But I'd really just have confidence in Arteta and him being there for so
Yeah.
long.
Honestly, that's fair and not a bold take, but I think they're just slipping. And they're if you just look at the games under a microscope, you can just see them slipping away. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
from exhaustion. I don't know if it's mismanagement. I don't really know what it is. I don't know if it's youth because remember this is one of the youngest squads in the Premier League. So I don't really know what it is with this Arsenal team. But I was talking to Cole last week, and remember back to literally a year ago when Arsenal went on that, I think it was like 3 or 4 game losing streak, which basically gave the Champions League spot to Tottenham, if you remember that.
Yeah.
I'd said the West Ham game reminded me a little bit of that. This Southampton game was exactly that. Like I was having more deja vu than I had last week. I was like, is this 2022? Coming into the end of the season with 8 games left, Arsenal. Like where are we? I don't know, but I was shocked to see how poor they were playing. And I mean, they did put it on them like in the second half to get those 2 goals back, and like I said, almost won it. But dude, it's Southampton. Every team in the Premier League's decent, but if you want the title and you have 7 games left, you can you can't be down to them 3-1, let alone draw them. They're going down. They're going nowhere but down, and that could be, just a little bit of the writing on the wall. I'm starting to turn. I'm starting to turn towards Man City. I think. Yeah, it's tough though. It's tough though because, like I said, they're very very consistent. They've been the most consistent team all year, right? So I'm not
If
entirely sure how to feel. Do you think Arsenal fans will be? Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, if we're talking extremities on silverware here, last time you and I talked, you said both hands on the trophy. I said they have a finger on it. I have them lifting the finger, but barely, barely maybe touching it. Where are you at now? Are you at 2 hands, 1 hand? Are you on pinkies? Where are you at?
I think I said I think I said it was one hand.
Nah, you said they're
Don't
already
put words in
lifting
my
it in
mouth.
the
No,
air. I'm
I
just, I'm
think I said
just
one
kidding.
hand. I think I said one hand. It's definitely slipping. I think Man City now has 2 fingers on it, if that makes any sense.
Ah,
So
yes.
it's a fight. It's a fight for the trophy. Um, but I think it's still in Arsenal's hand. You like how I did that?
I do. I love
Do you
it.
think Arsenal fans will be happy if they do come in second, Steve?
I mean, no. Um, I no. But it's one of those weird things. If you were to ask an Arsenal fan at the beginning of the year, hey, you're gonna finish second in the Premier League, they'd be like, no way. So, but that's not. Guess what? This isn't last year. This is as of recording April 24th. So no, they're gonna be disappointed. They're gonna be disappointed. They're gonna feel like it's an opportunity missed, especially looking at the Newcastles, the Uniteds, obviously City, and what those teams are at. This is their opportunity. So I mean, this is a great Arsenal team that will be competing obviously for silverware next year. But I mean, you're in first place right now, and you got a month left of the season. Now's the time. So they'll definitely feel hard done if they finish second at the end of all this. Um, but gosh, I mean, I think the whole world's rooting against them right now. I've talked to every EPL fan, I swear, and everybody wants Arsenal to slip. So I think it also would be a cool statement if they did win. I mean, I don't want them to, but yeah, I think they'll be disappointed.
Yeah, I think Arsenal fans would be too. Just especially because you came so close. You finished second. I mean, at the end of it, you'll say it was a good season. We almost had it. We'll go again next year. But you don't know. You don't know. Teams will make some changes this summer. You never know who's going to bounce back, like a Liverpool, like a Chelsea. Even Manchester United's going to be in the mix. So you just don't know. So I think they'll be okay with it. Happy, maybe not so much. Does Arsenal basically lose all of their advantage in this title race now, Steve? I mean, I think we were talking about they were only playing in this competition. It was just the Premier League, and that's it. Manchester City is playing in three, and is continuing to play in three, making the FA Cup final now, which is later, so they're not really playing it in anymore. And they're playing in the Champions League semifinal in May. Does the advantage now sort of tip? I feel like it's tipped now into Man City's hands.
Yeah, I would say the advantage is definitely tipped. 100%. You could not have more momentum if you're Manchester City. I mean, you have the opportunity of winning three trophies this year. You just went by with ease against Bayern, and you're seeing Arsenal struggle against Southampton. So, uh, they're on the mend on three draws, and I don't care who you are. It's not like they just came off of one draw; they've coming off of three, and the most recent one to the last place team. If you're an Arsenal player in that locker room, I mean, maybe you have some experienced guys that are like Xhaka. I don't know, that's confident, but no, these guys know what they need to do, and they're seeing one of the best teams, if not the best team in the entire world, standing across the field from them on Wednesday. So yeah, the advantage is definitely with Manchester City.
I think so too. They're absolutely flying. We'll get to them later. But switching to the other part of North London, 2, 6, 9, 19, 21, 67. Those are the minutes of Newcastle's 6 goals. Yes, 6 goals Newcastle put past Tottenham this weekend. The final score was 6-1. Before we do get into the Spurs talk, Steve, let's give some praise to Newcastle real quick. Alexander Isak, amazing goal scoring record in the Premier League. I think he's second behind Holland. Don't have the numbers in front of me, but somebody can check me on that. Had a double. Joe Willock looked like prime Modric with the about 60-yard pass from outside the boot for an assist. And Bruno Guimaraes, I think is how you pronounce it, absolute baller. What a player. Just bossed the midfield all day. I'd love to have him in my team. I think most teams would kill to have him, a player like that, on their squad. He was absolutely phenomenal as well. I mean, their whole team was great on the day. Who stood out for you most in this Newcastle team?
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely say Murphy with the 2 goals. He, you can't score if you don't shoot, and I think the chances that he took, the runs that he made, I mean, that first banger goal that he had that kind of caught everybody on Spurs off guard. And he struck it really well. He struck it very well. Um, and this is a guy like the Murphys, the Joe Lintons, like the Almirons, less so now, but these are guys that are kind of on the outside looking in on this Newcastle rebuild. Um, and you could see those kinds of players like, I have to prove myself, or maybe play timidly almost to not make mistakes. But no, they are fully bought in on this Newcastle train that is just cruising into Champions League qualification for next year. And that's really impressed me. I think that just goes to show what Eddie Howe's gotten out of the guys. Um, Increasing the quality of players around them is going to get better quality out of the existing players, and you're seeing that on full display. I've never seen, and this team has added players 100%, but still, they have a lot of the original squad, and they are absolutely balling out, making Tottenham look like a championship side, which was incredibly impressive to see. All kudos to the tunes and all that. Even though I was crying and it did maybe have me drinking before the afternoon, but kudos to Newcastle. Job well done.
Yeah, yeah. They really did wipe Tottenham off the field, but that's okay. It only goes down in the books as 3 points. You can't get more than that. Speaking of winning, though, they basically have earned themselves a Champions League position. I think they have it locked up at least. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. Looking at the remaining fixtures, not like I really needed to. Yeah, I think they got it in the bag. For sure. They had that I don't know, a blip, a slip up against Villa, losing 3-0. I think that's the most goals they've conceded maybe the whole year.
Hmm.
I actually
Yeah.
think. And so the fact that they were able to come back at home, I mean, that's how you want to see a team respond. So that's all I needed to see out of Newcastle, I think, for the rest of the season. I think they'll got Champions League, European football locked up. So I think it's the first
Yeah.
time they'll be playing Champions League football in 20 years.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And they've earned every bit of that. Let's shift now to talk about your beloved Spurs. You're in Cole's Spurs team. Kane is honestly the only shining light in this team at the moment, and usually always. Like
Yeah.
let's be real. What are the odds of Harry Kane staying this summer, Steve?
I'll tell you the odds. The odds that I okay, I'll actually give a 26% chance solely based off of him wanting to stay in England, wanting to go to a top club, and I don't see him leaving Tottenham to go and playing for Bayern. I just don't think so. Or Real Madrid, whoever you want to insert there. So if a Man U go gets Victor Osimhen, okay, then where are you going? Are you going to go to Newcastle? Maybe. Or are you going to go to Chelsea? No, you're not going to go to Liverpool. I don't think that doesn't fit. City, obviously not. So I don't really see too many destinations. I think Man United is just written on the wall. He'll probably break the English transfer record. I would imagine, which is still held by Jack Grealish. Was that right?
I think it's Enzo Fernandez, but for an English
For an
player,
English player, yeah.
yeah, Jack Grealish.
Yeah. So I think he'd break that. Because I mean, Tottenham can still say no. Tottenham can still say no and hold on to him. But yeah,
God.
I'll give a 26% chance. I want him to leave, honestly. Cole I know does not. This is where we differ. I have empathy and see mercy. Cole just he'd have Kane score goals into the 600s and never win anything. I want this man to be happy. He has paid his debts. You are released of your duties. Um, so yeah, 26% chance calculated that he stays at Spurs this summer.
Very calculated, and you're 100% right. Cole would say he signed a contract, he has to stay. When we both know that's not how football contracts work. But yeah, if he doesn't go to Manchester United, that is an interesting point. Where does he go? I think there's a lot of better locations other than Tottenham he could go.
In England, I mean, where would you have him go? Because you know he wants that goal scoring record.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is Manchester United or bust. He's not going to go to Arsenal. Um, he's not going to go to like a Brentford. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know.
I know
He's going
Arsenal
to Crystal Palace.
fans.
That's my bet.
Oh my gosh, I know Arsenal fan Kyle Norton would be commenting right now. Well, you know he was actually originally an Arsenal fan. But get that. I can just feel it in my bones right now.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's all but gone. But if you keep him, great. I don't really care. Good for Spurs. Moving off from the really shining light of the squad into the deep dark part of the team right now. Conte was fired a couple weeks ago for saying some things about this team and about the club. It seems like the fans have fully turned against the club at this point, Steve. The players and Daniel Levy especially. How do you feel about this current roster, like the team and Daniel Levy, and what do you think needs to happen?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to go pessimistic here, I want to see a complete overhaul. I want to see defenders gone. I don't want to have to rely on a loaned in out of favor center back from Barcelona to like play in a back three well and just watch him not be able to track balls in the air. All of our center backs are terrible at tracking balls in the air. It was absolutely wild this past game against Newcastle. There's just the spatial awareness is just insane, like lacking. Ivan Perisic is a baller. Terrible game defending, absolutely terrible game. Pedro Porro hasn't been up to it. To get into a transfer saga with him is so incredibly frustrating. But we're tied to him. It's just we need better center backs. Eric Dyer has to go. Davinson Sanchez has to go. Uh, I still think we have Tanganga on the books. Like I just want get everybody out, and this is assuming we sell Harry Kane, right? So go out, and you got to get rid of Hugo Lloris as well. Fraser Foster gone. Um, Even though he's played pretty well for us, but it's there needs to be this final changing of the guard. Dare I say, is Eric Dyer a Spurs player next year? I think so. I mean, maybe still keep him, but like you can't compete, especially now. This high octane top six of the Premier League is just only getting way better, and Spurs are only trending in a free fall right now. The midfield, you're relying on fantastic performances from Oliver Skip to be this creative midfielder when he's a kid, who plays holding mid, and he's your guy that's the highest up on the pitch. It's just absolutely insane. And you look for the creativity from Kulusevski. Oh, no, it's just not. He's good. I do think he's a baller, but it's like it's so easy to isolate Harry Kane and just let Harry Kane score a goal, and you beat Tottenham 2-1, 3-1. Youngmin Son hasn't been good enough either this year. He'll be the first to tell you that. But I mean, you can't look, in my opinion, at Son and Kane and say that they're problems. What Son's given you in the past, he's had a bad season. He knows that. But there's been no reason to find any other pluses. Like, God forbid teams figured out how to play against two players. Like,
Yeah, true.
God forbid. It's like, wow, Son and Kane are remarkable. Look how they link up. You don't think these other teams are looking at this footage? And Tottenham loses Betancourt a few months ago, and it's like, oh man, that was our creative guy. That already was embarrassing that was your creative guy in the midfield. Like, that's not. No, no, he's not. He's again out of favor players that are getting loaned into Tottenham, looking to carry us to the promised land. Kulusevski was loaned in. Betancourt was loaned in. Hell, even Romero was loaned in, but we bought him. And all these like, yeah, it's time to take an ugly, ugly, ugly look in the mirror and wipe away all the makeup of qualifying for Europe has given us, and realize the issues from the top. When you fire your interim coach, which he should have never even gotten the opportunity to coach Tottenham after Antonio Conte left. That doesn't make any sense.
That was that okay. Okay, that leads me right into the next question because that's exactly what I was going to ask.
Diffoot.
Spurs decided to keep Conte's assistant manager Christian Stellini, and they were hoping, I guess, he could see out the rest of the season. Well, actually, after the 6-1 smacking after Newcastle, they decided to fire him. What? Did he deserve the job? Like, am I missing something? Did he deserve to stay? And like, why? Like, why? Why is the big question there? Is it literally just to save money because they didn't want to fire him yet and pay out his contract? Like, that's the only thing that makes any sort of sense to me.
Yeah, it really doesn't make sense because we've been here before with Jose Mourinho getting sacked and Ryan Mason being our caretaker manager. Ryan Mason being an assistant coach, even on Antonio Conte's staff. It seemed like the logical move, especially after the way Conte exited. Just having a guy tear down the entire team, and keeping his right hand man. And then, in the Newcastle game, decides to play a different scheme, gets our ass kicked, and then just go back to it at halftime. It's like, no, he did not deserve the job. Conte being out with his gallbladder surgery and everything. We won like 3 games while he was out under Stellini, but we lost 2 as well. It's not like he was this mastermind. So I don't get it. He didn't deserve the job. I think it's that false hope. It's just not it's the club, it's the top of the club not being in tune of where they're actually at, where Tottenham is actually at, and it's alarming. It's like, no, like why would you keep him? You're not. This isn't a Champions League thing. This isn't you just trying to like play football and stay in the top like six right now and just give the fans performances that they deserve that they really haven't seen in 2 years. Creativity, fun flowing football from Spurs rather than Harry Kane playing defense, playmaker, goal scorer. Like it's
Yeah.
it's Tottenham's been absolutely spoiled with Kane, and if Harry Kane was not in our side, let's say we just had Son playing. I literally don't know if we'd be in the top 10. I don't know. Like we've been playing so abysmal, and our defense has been absolutely horrendous. And I will say I do think there's going to be some moves. We have Paratici's in jail right now. It's like it's like things could not be worse. Things literally could not be worse. Arsenal's about to win the league. Harry Kane is going to leave, and yeah, so Tottenham needs to take a long look at the mirror this summer. Daniel Levy, maybe it's time to go make a club self-sustainable and build a fancy stadium and have Tom Brady play in a new soccer stadium. Maybe it's time to do that and make your money somewhere else. Go take a new project and hand it over to some football people. Like, thank you for not leaving us like Barcelona or something, I guess, in financial ruin. But no, it's I think Daniel Levy very well, depending how this season ends, could be out of the club.
Yeah. A lot of fans are calling for that. You mentioned Ryan Mason coming back in for the rest of
Mhm.
the season, barring any unforeseen, circumstances, he might get fired or let
No.
go. So knock on wood. Um, where do you think Spurs are going to finish the season? I mean, you said they're trending
God.
downward. If they didn't have Kane, where would they be? But in all reality, Kane stays fit for the last couple games. Where do you think you'll finish?
I definitely think we finish below Aston Villa. Villa is
Really?
absolutely flying. And they drew this past week. I understand that, but I mean, 4 of their last 5. Like they're Villa's on fire. Looking at Liverpool, they look very good as like that's the thing with Liverpool looking bad this year. They still look better than Tottenham, so I don't know how they're below us honestly. Um, us just getting bailed out by probably those Brighton VAR calls. And then Brighton, it's like all those 3 teams I just listed, Villa, Liverpool, and Brighton. I think we're better than Fulham. Like I think that's where
Yeah.
I think that's the
Are you better
bar.
than Brentford?
I do. I mean, maybe.
Sort of like, yeah, that Brentford line. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, we're right there, and I think that's where Spurs belong. To be honest, uh, but I guarantee you that's not where the club executives think where we are. So, we're with the.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say Spurs. They might pull it out. You never know. I wanted to move us on so we
Yeah.
can have more conversation. Looking down at the bottom of the table, separation is starting to happen for the first time all year. Bournemouth was beaten at home by West Ham for nothing. Bournemouth came into this game with 2 wins on the bounce. Then they put out this performance to this West Ham. Steve, you think this is a blip, or does this result start to pull them back into the relegation fight after some good form?
I mean, yeah, I think they know they're in the relegation fight. I mean, they've won 3 out of their last 5 games, which is awesome, which is pretty good form considering you being near the bottom. Um, but yeah, definitely a wake up call. Definitely a wake up call that they are not out of the woods yet. So I still think they're going to be okay. They can play some good football, but yeah, they're definitely still in that relegation conversation.
Yeah, definitely they are. Another team that's obviously down there, and you mentioned them earlier, Dean Smith lifted Leicester City to a 2-1 win over Wolves this weekend. After going down 1-0 early on, I think it was in the 13th minute, they showed some good fight to dig deep and go get that massive result. This result, like I said, lifted Leicester out of the relegation zone. What are your feelings about Leicester, and do you think they can continue to be positive under Dino?
Yeah, I mean, Dean Smith's a great coach, and the fact, I mean, you got Leeds up next and Everton. I mean, that's really it, right? Like those are
That's it. That's the season.
that's it. Leeds just look terrible. I think Leicester City can get it done, honestly, against Leeds. I think Leeds is at home though, but I have way more confidence in Leicester than Leeds. And then boom, then you're talking about wins back to back. You're talking about some more momentum going, and that's everything right now. It's like, yeah, we can go into Everton and take 3 points, or at least get a result. And 4 points in those two games would be massive for Leicester, and I think they can do it.
Yeah. I mean, 6 points and they're clear, I think. Like that's just crazy to think about. But those three games are massive. Speaking of Leeds though, Leeds lost again. It was to Fulham this time, 2-1 I believe the score was, which is now three losses in a row for Leeds. Now they're only a point above the relegation line. Last week I did say they were dancing with the devil, and they must like that dance because it looks like they're going to be doing it the rest of the season. Do you have any thoughts on this Leeds team?
This Leeds team that's playing, like we just said, Leicester, then Bournemouth, then City, Newcastle, West Ham, and Tottenham. I think it's time to get ready to dig down into the championship. There's no way. There is 0% chance that they stay up. If
Wow.
they if they lo-
Zero?
if they lose against Leicester, if they win
Yeah.
against Leicester, they have a chance. I even think if they draw, they're done. Like it, those teams I just mentioned again, Bournemouth, City, West Ham, Newcastle, and Tottenham. No way.
Yeah. You're flying high when Rodrigo was scoring those goals. He's playing out of his skin, and I don't think he's scored since October. So, yeah, sorry, Leeds fans, not looking good. Do they have good enough players? I don't know. We'll leave
Yeah,
that up
I don't
for
know.
debate. Maybe, probably Weston McKennie, Brendan Aronson. Is that our American bias? But but speaking of Everton as well, Everton did draw to Palace, so a decent result there after Palace won three in a row. They were going for their fourth, but Everton stopped them in their tracks. They did go down to 10 men in the game, actually, and hang on to that draw. Nottingham Forest lost to Liverpool 3-2. Gave them a good run for their money, but weren't able to hold on for at least a point. They lost. And Southampton, like we mentioned earlier, massive result against Arsenal, I think at least, to draw 3-3. You know, we said last week that Wolves and Palace are probably safe. I know you weren't there. Do you agree with that? And can we now start to throw any other names into that pack?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm now, or I definitely think Palace is safe. Wolves, I do because I just think there's worse teams. Like I think Leicester is worse than Wolves. I do. I think Leeds is worse than Wolves. Nottingham and Southampton. I do. So yeah, I would say Wolves and Palace are safe. I'm not going to give that praise to anybody else. Maybe Bournemouth if they can take out Southampton. I mean, they have Southampton and Leeds in their next two matches. So talk to me in a week. I'll let you know
I
where I'm at for
I
safety.
wanna throw in West Ham there. I really do want to start
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah,
throwing West Ham. I think they're done. I think they're clear now.
yeah. I
Like I
would,
think they have enough now, and
I would
if you believe
100%
in
agree.
momentum, they have enough momentum.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Who do you think had the best result out of this group this past week? I think I'm going to say Southampton. That's, you're looking for something to get some sort of mojo going, sitting there at the bottom in 20th place. A draw against the league leaders is not easy. They played pretty well, I think, and hung on for a point at the end. I think I had to go Southampton with the 3-3 draw.
I'm gonna go with my golden scarf, sticking with Leicester, because you're looking at a team that would be on 25 points and 19th place if they lost. An
Yeah.
absolute massive 3 points to send them from 19th all the way up to 17th. So you got to start building on something, and I think the opportune time of their next two fixtures being against what did I say, Leeds and Bournemouth. Yeah, Leeds and Bournemouth. I think that win came at the perfect time for it. So to start building on something.
Yeah, I think it's those Leicester. I think it's Leeds and Everton. I think is what it is next. I'm pretty sure, which is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
The worst result out of this group last week, I think I'm gonna have to give it to Leeds. Like 3 losses in a row. That you do not want to be catching that bad form coming into this last stretch. It's gotta go to Leeds for me, especially against a Fulham team who is decent, but you gotta try to get 3 points against Fulham, who are basically just in the middle of the road now the rest of the year.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that one, 100%. And just, yeah, you got to score more than a goal. You got to get a draw even. It's so important at this stage of the season. So
Yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Yeah. We'll see what happens there at the bottom. We have 2 games this week. So like a double game week. So it's going to be really, really exciting. Things are going to be shifting a lot come the end of next week in the next podcast. So make sure you subscribe. We'll be keeping you up to date. Leicester, like we said, did jump out of the relegation spots with Everton taking their place. The bottom 3 looks like this. In 18th, Everton at 28 points, 19th, Nottingham Forest at 27 points, and 20th, which is bottom, Southampton on 24. So it's even still close down there. It is still close. Southampton does still have hope, but probably very little. Like I said, double match week this week. Match week 33 brings us the biggest game of the year, and we are going to pause here. It is Manchester City versus Arsenal. The previous matchup at the Emirates went in the favor of City, winning it 3-1. You'll probably remember Haaland, Grealish, and De Bruyne scoring goals. Saka scored a penalty. But before we get into this game, I want to do something fun with you. Let's go position by position and pick our best 11 from these two teams, because this is what will probably end up being Premier League Team of the Year anyways, from these two teams, because that's how it normally goes. We're going to go with a 4-3-3 formation, and let's just start at the back. Goalkeeper, Ederson or Ramsdale? Honestly, I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think Aaron Ramsdale for me over Ederson, at least this year. Aaron Ramsdale's been phenomenal.
I would agree with you as well. This year, going on the current form, yeah, Ramsdale.
Ooh, okay. No opposition there. Okay, switching over to right back, Ben White versus Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker played for Aston Villa and Tottenham in his career, so we're going to try to remove the bias here. But honestly, Ben White has been essential for a lot of Arsenal's success. Kyle Walker hasn't really seen much playing time come the later half of this year. Am I about to say Ben White over Kyle Walker? I feel like that's not right, but is it?
I mean, no. I mean, you got to go Kyle Walker, man. Come on, come on. Not out of position, Ben White. He's had a great season, but there's no coach in their right mind, in my opinion, I guess at least, that would pick Ben White to play right back for their team over Kyle Walker.
You're right. If I'm building a Champions League side, I'm picking Kyle Walker 100% over Ben White. Moving over to left back, Nathan Ake, Nathan Ake is an actual center back, but moved to left back in Pep's system, versus Alexander Zinchenko, who actually used to be at Manchester City, funny enough. This one's actually pretty tough, to be honest with you. Zinchenko has been splitting time with,
Tierney?
Is he Scottish? Yeah, Tierney, and Tierney's great as well, honestly. But Zinchenko has sort of locked down that spot throughout the season. Nathan Ake, maybe Man City's most consistent player throughout the whole season. I mean, he's been really good, most consistent defender at least. Like, I don't know, but I don't think Nathan Ake is a left back. I know he sort of plays there and fills that role, but like, I think I'd have to say Zinchenko. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Zinchenko just brings more to the table. How he can carry the ball forward is very impressive. I'm going with Zinchenko over Ake for sure. But Ake has been great at that spot. But I'm going Zinchenko.
Yeah, Zinchenko, he has a really good shot as well, and I think Zinchenko could fill in a midfield position if you ever needed him to. Really, really good player there. All right, moving on to the center backs. We're going to choose two here. For Arsenal, there's Gabriel, Holding, and Saliba, who's injured, and that's probably why actually Arsenal's starting to slip, which is crazy that one player can do that to your team. For Man City, we have Ruben Diaz, Manuel Kanji, Emerick Laporte, and John Stones. For me, it would be John Stones and Saliba. But knowing that Saliba has been injured for a while now,
Yeah.
I think it's pretty easy to say Ruben Diaz and John Stones.
Yeah. I mean, I'm there. I mean, Saliba being out, picking a team now, and just what Ruben Diaz has been in his career, I'm going Ruben Diaz, and I'm going with Stonesy for sure.
Yeah, John Stones has been amazing as of late and just
Yeah.
had a really, really good season. Coming into form at a perfect time, I'd say. Our midfield three, this will be fun. A lot of really, really good players in here. We have Odegaard, Partey, Jorginho, Trossard can fill in there. For Man City, there's Kevin De Bruyne, Rodrigo, and Gundogan. Yikes! This is this is really tough. I'm gonna take the easy one off the board and say Kevin De Bruyne has to be in the team. You'd be crazy not to put him there. Who do you want to put in next?
I'm gonna go with Thomas Partey.
Really?
He's been absolutely phenomenal for Arsenal this whole year, and is honestly playing out of his skin. A big reason why they are where they are. So I'm going Party. I'll let you have the
Wow.
rubber
I
match
think I would
decision
have.
though here.
I think I would have chosen Rodrigo over Partey, but Martin Odegaard has been
Odegaard.
right below Kevin De Bruyne, I think, as far as midfielders go in the Premier League this year. He's been so, so good and actually essential to Arsenal's rise to the top. He has been absolutely amazing in that midfield, and I think he has to go in ours. This actually is really, really difficult call here on the left wing. You have Jack Grealish versus Gabriel Martinelli. Jack Grealish, I know we talk about consistency. Second half of the season, when he's gotten consistent minutes, I think he's arguably their most consistent player. Not a lot of the numbers to show for it. Martinelli's been producing all year when he's healthy. So I think it's really difficult to say, removing recency bias, Gabriel Martinelli might be my choice for our team.
Ooh. I
And I know it's hard as an Aston Villa fan to leave that Grealish magic, but yeah.
I will agree. I was expecting that you were gonna go Grealish, so I was definitely going Martinelli. But yeah, I mean, kudos to you. No, Grealish has been absolutely phenomenal, especially recently. But Martinelli scoring 15 league goals for Arsenal this year.
A lot.
I mean, that's a lot. It's the same as Rashford, one behind Salah. So I mean, this guy's been an absolute baller for Arsenal. So I'm going Martinelli.
Yeah, good. Glad we can agree on that. Moving over to the right wing, there's Saka, Mahrez, Bernardo Silva. Again, I think I'm going with the Arsenal player, Saka. Dude is again another essential player, becoming the face of England. I feel like in a way, like this youth revolution in England. Like he's your guy, and he's the face of Arsenal. So Saka for me, but I'm willing to listen to others, I guess.
You shouldn't be, because it's Saka for sure. I do think Man City having just a plethora of players works against picking some of their guys in this, honestly. The fact that Mahrez can play and Bernardo is just crazy. But yeah, going Saka for sure.
Yeah, I love Bernardo Silva though, so shout out to him. I know he's watching.
Shout out Bernardo.
Striker's probably the striker's probably the easiest position on the field. It has to be Holland. I'm not even going to let you answer. But let's get into the discussion part. How good is this matchup going to be, and what can we expect from both of these teams, Steve?
I'll tell you what. What I don't want to see is, which we'll get into later with the Champions League. I don't want to see no Manchester City Bayern. I want to see a thrilling game, two teams playing for their lives. Um, But I don't know. I hope it's not one-sided. I hope Holland doesn't just blow them away. I don't think he will. I think Arsenal have a great game plan, and I think it's going to be goals in the second half with blows coming out in the first half. Maybe a free kick here, maybe a set piece here, and then the game just opens up in the second half and really gets interesting. So it's gonna be amazing. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the week this week on Wednesday, I believe. Man City has scored 10 goals in their last 4 games. Arsenal has actually scored more with 11. However, Man City has only given up 3 goals. Arsenal has conceded 8 in that span. Man City's form is 5 wins in the last 5 games, and they haven't lost since February 5th against guess who? Tottenham. If you remember that 1-0 Tottenham win. Um, Arsenal's form is 3 draws, like we've been mentioning, and then with 2 wins after that. They actually haven't lost since the last time they played Manchester City, which was on February 15th. Like we said, they lost 3-1 in that. This is going to be a phenomenal game. This will decide the Premier League winner, even though it doesn't have to. I think it will. Let's get our predictions just out there. Put them out there. I don't feel super strongly. I don't think. I hope it's an amazing game. I hope it's open. I hope it's closer than the first time they played because Manchester City just sort of kept them in like a. It's almost Manchester City was like the Heisman, and they were just like, "Yeah, you stay right there. We're gonna win the title no matter what you do." Hopefully, Arsenal comes out with some bite and some fight. I could see a draw, but I don't want that. I want a 3-2 game. Whichever way, I guess I don't really care at this point. But I think Manchester City will win. So
I'm gonna go with the draw and say 3-3, 6 goal game, absolute madness. Um, yeah, 3-3.
yeah, I mean, it sort of feels like a continuation of Champions League in a way. It's going to be really exciting, and hopefully it gives off the vibes of Manchester City versus Liverpool, like we've got in the past like 5 years, like those sort of intense games. You almost can cut it with a knife and serve it on a plate. Like that's what I want.
Yeah.
This Wednesday. Spurs also take on Manchester United. Leeds take on Leicester City, like we mentioned, and Southampton take on Bournemouth. A good opportunity there for Southampton to get some points and get off the bottom. Match week 34 at the weekend. Leicester City's taking on Everton. Again, like we mentioned, Man U takes on Villa. That's a very, very big game. Villa won the first matchup of that. That was Unai Emery's first match. Now they go to Old Trafford. It's going to be a tough one for the Villains. And Man U hopes to keep their good form alive and their Champions League hopes alive. They're in there for now with Tottenham slipping. Arsenal takes on Chelsea. Should be easy for Arsenal, but you never know. Chelsea's on a week of rest this past week. They didn't play. They'll be playing 2 games this week, but maybe something could happen. And who knows? After that Man City game, who knows where Arsenal will go from there. Liverpool versus Tottenham. Another big game. Tottenham has some major opportunities to get some points if they want to get Champions League or Europe. It's hard to really say that they can do that, though, Steve. But any optimism there looking at those games? No?
Dude, we'll probably get 6 points and then lose to the 18th place team next week. So I'm just no optimism officially. No optimism.
I'm picking on you. I'm sorry. I'm picking on you. The FA Cup semifinals were this past weekend, where Manchester City beat Sheffield United 3-0, and where Brighton and Manchester United ended 0-0 going into penalties. Manchester United taking that 7-6 in pens. And this will be the first Manchester Derby in the FA Cup final ever. That game will be on June 3rd, so after the Premier League season. A little late, but that should be massive. Both of those teams at that point could be going for their second trophy. One will be definitely going for the second trophy in Manchester United,
Yeah.
but Man City, if they win the Champions League, could be going for that. Could be going for the treble with that trophy, let me remind you. So sort of crazy there. We move around the world to the Champions League quarterfinals. This is where we saw Manchester City draw Bayern Munich 1-1, but on aggregate win it 4-1. Haaland did miss a PK, but decided to score from open play in the 57th minute. And yeah, let me remind everyone, that's 12 goals in 8 Champions League games for Mr. Haaland. Bayern did score their goal from a Kimmich PK in consolation in the 83rd minute. Were you surprised at how easy this was for City, Steve? I mean, they honestly just coasted this game. It was pretty boring. Yeah, what were your feelings after this one?
Yeah, I mean, disappointed from the neutral perspective, pretty boring, but also kind of expected. But it was Bayern Munich, so I honestly expected more. But after that first leg, I just, yeah, nothing much really. Holland missing the PK was pretty wild.
Yeah.
The fact that he's able to, get that ironed out in the quarterfinal to step up for it in the semis or in the Champions League final. But yeah, I was surprised. I really expected more out of Bayern.
Yeah, me too. I think I told Cole last week I thought they had a chance to come back because this Bayern Munich team is really good. They're really solid. And I thought they did play pretty well in the first game, but they just did not show it in the second leg, unfortunately. Anything else stand out to you with the rest of the games, Steve?
I mean, the Madrid Chelsea was kind of expected.
I'll say Chelsea played pretty well though.
Yeah,
They just can't score.
yeah.
They just can't
I
score.
mean, that's been the storybook all season. I would like to say, I mean, that Benfica Inter game. I left watching that game saying you can score 3 goals away in the San Siro, but didn't do anything at home in Portugal. So
Yeah.
that was kind of surprising to see. That game ended 3-3, but 5-3 on aggregate for Inter. But a little dark horse action over there. You give me a little analysis on that. How you feeling about your boys?
Honestly, they played way better in this series than they did in the previous round. I actually thought they were going to go out to Benfica. Benfica was way better than them. But Inter is just super solid. Both of these Italian teams are so solid, dude. They're very, very good, and we're going to get a good semifinal between them. Yeah, Barella coming up big this game. I think he scored 2 goals this series. And also, Benfica's two of their goals in this game came late, like after the 80th minute. So basically, Inter had already won.
Yeah.
So it's sort of flatters Benfica, I will say. But yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I can't believe my dark horse shout is actually happening before my eyes, and they definitely have a very, very real chance to make the final.
If we predict the 2 back-to-back Champions League winners, me saying Real last year and you saying Inter, I'm just saying.
We're throwing big money next year. Big money. The You Betcha section is going to start racking up.
Skyrocket.
Yeah, and then AC Milan, I mean, this might be the most surprising out of everything, arguably. AC Milan taking down Napoli. This game, they drew 1-1, but on aggregate winning 2-1. Any analysis from this one?
Yeah, who is that going down the left wing? It's Rafael. Holy cow. What an insane run on that Giroud goal for AC Milan. Just goes past the entire team, takes the ball from in his own half, lays it off to Giroud, who's close to scoring a couple times, puts this one away, and the place just erupted. So that was absolutely cool to see the young Portuguese Leao play probably the most important pass so far in his young career.
Yeah. He's absolutely amazing, and again, won't be surprised if he moves on this summer too.
Tottenham.
I don't want to say a bigger club because AC Milan is massive, but just a club with maybe some more funds to spend on him, because he is a player. Victor Osimhen did score a goal, but Victor Osimhen, is he going anywhere this summer? And again, stay tuned. That's going to be a big, big talking point. But like I said, we do get the Champions League semifinal matchups of Real Madrid versus Manchester City. This game will be on May 9th. It is a rematch of last year's semifinal, believe it or not, which ended, which you probably remember, 6-5 on aggregate in last minute fashion from Real Madrid. It was insane. It was heartbreak for Manchester City. What a game that was. I actually want to go back and watch it now because I'm getting some chills. It was so phenomenal. On the other end, we have the Italian matchup, AC Milan versus Inter Milan on May 10th. The Milan Derby, one of the most historical matchups in football history. Steve, which one are you more excited about?
Milan Derby. Both these teams, the fact that one of them is going to a Champions League final, like this just feels like Italy reclaiming European glory, which
Yeah.
it's so cool to see. And the fact that both these teams are going to be playing in this derby in the same freaking stadium is going to be amazing.
Twice. They get to play in it twice. It's so funny.
I absolutely cannot wait for this game. I know the winner is statistically maybe probably in the other matchup, but I'm way more excited about this game.
Yeah, it is a very, very exciting game. Remind me of like the 2000s and maybe the 90s a little bit as well. Like, it's super, super fun. The Real Madrid Manchester City one will be super amazing as well. I mean, Champions League has just gifted us some amazing matchups this year, and I could not be happier.
You hear that?
Honestly,
You hear
could not
that
be
Super
happier.
League? Get out of here.
Oh, don't talk about him. Speaking of some more Champions League action, CONCACAF Champions League quarterfinals ended. Philly won on aggregate 3-2. Lyon move on a 6-2 aggregate. Tigres move on a 6-0 aggregate, which is the same as LAFC 6-0. The semifinal matchups are Philly versus LAFC, the two MLS teams. Tigres versus Leon, the two Mexican teams. So we will have a MLS Mexican final. Steve, any insight onto what the semifinals might look like? Any predictions you have? Any of that?
I won't spend too much time on it, but Philly and LAFC, wow. So we get an MLS Cup rematch. That's awesome for some big silverware. Not yet, but to get to the big game, I think it's going to be very intense. I think it's going to be. I hope it is. I hope both these teams
Yeah.
take this game very intense. Uh, I love that it's happening at the beginning of the season, so they're not even worried about playoffs or how they'll finish. They'll get to that later. So both these teams are taking this with utmost seriousness. So I cannot wait for that game. Yeah, I really don't know who's going to win that one, but I do think an MLS team probably has the odds over both of these Mexican teams of Tigres and Leon.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say so. LAFC's been flying this year. Philly, not so much, but they're still super solid. They just smacked the hell out of Toronto this weekend. So, um, great win to go into this week's matchup against LAFC. Tigres always a pretty good team as well, so I expect them to make the final. But who knows? I think MLS might take it again this year. And speaking of MLS, we did our MLS Fast Five last week, and your boy won. We didn't predict any of the games exactly correct, but I won the results. Nashville versus LAFC was a draw 1-1. Seattle Sounders beat Minnesota 1-0. LA Galaxy got their second win. I think maybe first win.
First win.
First win. Thank you, Steve. First win of the year against Austin FC 2-0. A little surprising. FC Cincinnati beat Portland 2-1, and Philly beat Toronto, like I mentioned, 4-2. That brings us to MLS Fast 5 match week 9. Is that right? Oh my God, the MLS season is coming by very quickly. Steve, start us off. New England versus FC Cincinnati.
Yes, this is going to be probably the best matchup of the week. One versus two. I'm going with a 2-2 draw. No parity between the two sides. They're also level on points right now. Just, I think, one goal differential separates them. It's going to be a good game, though.
Ooh, I think it will be as well. I'm going to go to 2-1 FC Cincinnati win, rooting for the Ohio team there. Real Salt Lake versus Seattle Sounders, Steve.
Yeah, I'm going Seattle. Not too much analysis on this one. They look good. They're going to continue to be good. Seattle 3-1.
Yeah, I think it might be close. It might be that off game. I'm going to say 1-1. I think it might be a draw on that one. We move on to Orlando versus LA Galaxy. It is in Orlando. You never know if it's going to be a tropical storm or some insane heat. The LA boys will not be ready for that. Orlando will win 1-0.
I'm going to go on the opposite end of the spectrum with a Chicharito goal being a 1-0 Galaxy win.
And then that brings us to Minnesota versus FC Dallas. A tough game. I think it's going to be a pretty fair matchup. I think FC Dallas will win, though, 2-1.
Yeah, I'm going to go FC Dallas as well here. I think they start pulling away at the top of the table a little bit. I think it's going to be 2-0 with a Ferreira goal.
Very nice. And then this is our last matchup, Nashville versus Atlanta. This is also a really, really big game. It's hard to say. It's in Nashville. Who do you have, Steve?
You know, I got Atlanta United just battering them. 4 goals to the good over Nashville's 2 goals. Maybe Mukhtar gets one. I don't know. But yeah, I got Atlanta winning 4-2. I think if Yakumakis. I don't know his injury status actually, so I might walk that back, but oh well. I already said it, 4-2.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a draw. We like to score goals, but we also like to give them up, I think. It'll be a 1-1 draw, sort of boring. We'll both be a muted game. And that brings us to our final segment of the day, the You Betcha. This goes without saying. We are amateur bettors. This is not betting advice, but we typically win. Just kidding. Steve, what's your lock for the week?
Yes, my lock for the week, guaranteed win if you like money, is a draw between Chelsea and Brentford. I think the money line has it at plus 295. For a Chelsea team that doesn't like to score goals or a little allergic to it, and a Brentford team that is in the top half of the table, I'm locking that shit in.
Brentford's good at home as well, as Aston Villa found out this past week. My lock is going to be Bournemouth beating Southampton, unfortunately. Bournemouth, they're going to bounce back off that 4-0 loss to West Ham and give it to the bottom dwellers. Southampton, it's plus 210. I think that's pretty easy money. Bring it to me. And that is it for the supporter section podcast today. We hope you enjoyed our time together. If you made it this far, definitely leave a like for us and subscribe if you have not done so already. And please get in the comments. Let us know how you feel about some of the stuff we talked about. We do want to hear what you have to say. Our socials are down there as well, so feel free to give us a follow. We'd like to be interactive, so enjoy that. I have been Brandon Patesnick. He's been Stephen Curl, of course. Enjoy another loaded week of football, and until the next one, peace